welcome back to the Inside the Labyrinth Podcast. I am here. I'm super excited today. We've been trying to get this done for a while, and my boy Frankie always finds a way to make the magic happen, and he pulled some strings, made some phone calls, and made this happen. So I'm going to introduce my boy Frankie V of RepsForResponders.
How we doing? Welcome back to Inside the Labyrinth Podcast, Season 5, Episode 6, our second ever in-person podcast.
Yeah.
I'm super excited. We have a legendary and honorable guest today. Before I introduce him, please like, subscribe, do what you guys got to do to pass the Inside the Labyrinth message around. This is really for you guys to increase your emotional and physical survivability skills of first responders and pass the message around. So we appreciate all the listens. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the one and only Ralph Friedman, retired NYPD detective, the street warrior. Ralph, how you doing today, man? Welcome, join us.
How you doing, Frank?
The legend. Got to preface that, man. The legend, bro. The legend. So how you feeling today, Ralph?
Good, Jason.
Good,
Thanks
man.
for having me here.
Dude, it is a absolute honor to have you sitting amongst us. I used to always hear stories about you. And
Anything good?
All good stuff, man.
Okay.
All good stuff. There was a guy I used to work with who ended up being a deputy commissioner. His name was Gary McCarthy. He used to talk very highly of you. And that's before, I just got on the job. I didn't know much. I didn't even know who he was until I found out that he was the guy that was partly responsible for Operation Impact. But he had a decent amount of time on the job and would always talk about, guys who had a great reputation for being good street cops. And your name always came up. So I've been on 16 years, man, and I've been trying to meet this man for 16 years. And Frankie figures out a way to make it happen. And then you somehow know my boy Mikey over here, man, Cuso, my guy over here.
My bodyguard. Bro.
Yeah,
Mike
exactly.
Cuso.
So, I'm very stoked. I'm super happy to have you with us. It's an honor. And
It's my honor. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you.
It's an honor to be here.
How you feeling, Frankie? Good, dude?
I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go through this labyrinth.
All right,
Let's make it happen. Before we hop in, I just want to show you guys Ralph's book, Street Warrior. Check it out. It is written by the one and only, the legendary Ralph Friedman. So please check that out on his website. We'll have all the links to Ralph's books. He also has a documentary on Amazon. So please check that out. So Ralph, we want to jump into your labyrinth, your mind. On how was Ralph way before the job, high school? What was your mind at? Were you into working out? Were you into any sports? But how was Ralph in high school?
Well, I was into sports. I was on the school baseball team in junior high school. And when I went to high school, Clinton in the Bronx.
Oh, DeWitt Clinton. All right.
DeWitt Clinton.
All right.
BX.
DeWitt C.
Yeah.
I played football for an outside league. I was on a team called the Panthers. And I was always I got into bodybuilding and physical fitness at an early age, like 12. And never developed habits of drinking or smoking or drugs or eating garbage food or anything like that. And it helped me through my whole life, and especially in the department. It gave me a mindset of going in with a warrior mentality. When I went to work, I thought I was going into battle. I was always worked in proactive units. I got into the anti-crime unit quick, and I would use that stuff of my teenage years to handle the job. I went in there with I always wanted to be rested. I made sure I slept well, I ate well, worked out before I went in, and I was going in there to do a job, and I wanted to be physically ready for it.
Awesome.
We felt it was like a battle out there.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
we were always taught, when you went through the academy, the training was, I'm sure it's much different today, but we did full contact boxing, full contact judo. You were taught that you are the police and you win no matter what force or whatever had to be done to effect an arrest. And they wanted you to make arrests. But we had a mindset that you went out there and you win no matter what. They use a stick, their hands, you use a stick. They use a stick, you use your gun. You're the police.
Absolutely.
You make that, you tell someone they're under arrest, that's it. There's only two choices. The easy way or the hard way.
Yeah, that's that old school mentality right there. So you're born and raised in the Bronx, right?
Yep.
What hospital were you born in?
Bronx Hospital.
Bronx Hospital.
On Fulton Division.
Oh man,
Wow.
this guy's Bronx through and through. Where'd you go to elementary school?
the PS46 on
PS46.
yeah 196th Street and Briggs Avenue.
Yeah, man, this guy's.
You know the area, right?
Yeah. So I was born in North Central Bronx.
I was born in the Bronx, raised in the Bronx, schooled in the Bronx, had my first jobs in the Bronx, and then had my police career was all the Bronx.
Yeah, man, he's the definition of New York right here.
I'm Bronxed out.
Bronxed out, yeah, exactly. So high school, or you played sports. What made you want to become a police officer? That's like something I always ask guys because I know me. I came from a family of police officers.
Well, that was the thing. I had no family and no friends that were police officers. I never even thought about becoming a police officer.
Really?
You know, my parents wanted me to go to college, which I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
I wanted to get out there, earn my own way.
Mm-hmm.
And I was out with some friends on a Friday night, and I said to them, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And tomorrow, it said being Saturday, they said, "Oh, we're going to take the police test." I said, "The police test?" I was like, "Are you kidding?" Because it never came up. You know, we weren't bad guys, but we weren't like families and stuff on the job, like yourself.
Yeah.
So it never even came into my mind. And then when I got out of high school, my father got me a good job since he knew he couldn't get me to go to college. He got me into the moving business.
Okay.
I worked in New Rochelle. It was a big famous place at the time, Neptune Worldwide Movers.
Okay.
And it got pretty well known because later on there was a guy that went crazy there. And he was like a Nazi, and he started shooting up the whole place. And it was a very big thing that made national news.
Wow.
And but I already left there, right? So I was moving furniture, which was like, you know, like a plus to adding to the workout because I'd work out like 2 hours a day. And then I'd go to work and lift stuff there for 10 hours a day, you know. So, and I was getting paid very well. The pay was outrageous for the time. I was making $4.50 an hour.
Wow.
And the rest of the state was making $1.15.
Okay.
And they had to work 40
Put some things
hours.
in perspective. Yeah. Okay.
And they had to work a 40-hour week to get overtime. When you were in a mover, you got overtime. If you worked 10 hours in one day, you automatically got 2 hours overtime.
Oh, wow.
It was a good job.
Okay.
You know, but then when these guys said they were taking the test, in those years it was a walk-in. So
Really?
There was no filing fees, no filing in advance, making appointments. You just walk in. If you were walking down the street and you go in. And the ironic thing is we did the walk-in in Clinton High School.
Oh, wow. I'll see. There you go. Bronx again. It was meant to be.
It's the real Bronx bomber.
Yeah,
So I said to them,
Yeah.
if you want, knock on my door. If I'm up, I'll go. You know.
Wow.
They knocked on my door. I was up. I went with them. I took the test. I felt I did pretty good.
Yeah.
And once I took the test and went home, then I started thinking about it. I said, you know, I'm going to be lifting the same couch and refrigerator on day one that I am on 20 years later.
Yeah.
I said, on the police, there was a place where I can make a career without college.
Gotcha.
Because in those years, you just had to get out of high school or get a GED.
Yeah.
You didn't need
You didn't need the 60 credits.
or nothing like that. That was like unheard of back then.
So I just want to put something in perspective. What year is this that you decided to become a police officer?
Well, I took the test in 67.
Took the test in 67 people. All right. Okay. Continue.
And
So I'll
they
make
called
sure.
me in 68.
All right.
Right. They called me like right away.
Yeah,
It was
that's
a few
actually
months
pretty quick.
later,
Yeah.
You know, and I was too young. You had to be 21.
All right.
So I was 19 now in 68. But they hired me. The police department hired me to be a program that I don't know if they still have it today, but it was a police trainee.
Okay, so kind of like the cadets.
The cadets were a little different because I think they had to go to they were going to college and they were giving up
you're right.
some time.
You're absolutely right. I'm sorry about that.
They were like they had to give a couple of years and they would get some college paid for. There was something with school involved.
Got you.
This was just
Straight up training.
Straight up training.
Okay.
You did anything a police officer did, but inside.
Wow.
And unarmed.
Okay.
You did 124 work. You did TS work. 124, in case you have civilians listening,
Yes.
or other departments. 124 was you take complaints,
complaint room,
crime
baby.
reports, and type them up. And then there was a TS, which is a telephone switchboard,
That's right.
where the old switchboard where you plug in the thing.
Man, listen, this is
You know,
great.
It
I
was
love
crazy
it. Yeah.
stuff. You know, like we didn't have computers.
Were they called 61s back then too?
Yeah.
Kid, yeah, 61s,
Some things
bro.
don't change.
Some things don't change.
You think you would like paperwork after getting that
I
early
hated
start? You
paperwork.
hated it, right?
I still hate paperwork.
Oh,
you know,
man.
but it comes with the territory, like injuries. You know, certain things come with being a cop.
All right.
You know, the danger, the injury, and the paperwork.
Yeah. So 68, they call you.
Right. And
You're 19.
I'm 19. It was January 28th or January 28th or 30th of 68. And I become a trainee.
What precinct was that?
So they send me right away. Well, first we went to the academy to get, your paperwork and like sign into the police department, the city of New York job.
Here you go, kid.
Right? And what they did was they gave us a course in fingerprinting.
Okay.
So we became fingerprint technicians. And what that was for, because in 1968, they started this thing in New York City that you had to register long arms.
Really?
Rifles and shotguns.
Oh, I didn't know this. See?
And everybody volunteered. Believe it or not, they put it out to the public that if you don't register, you'll be arrested if you get caught with a long arm. But you have to walk in voluntarily to a precinct.
Okay.
And be fingerprinted.
Gotcha.
And I was assigned to the 44th precinct in the Bronx,
44.
which was a busy house.
Very busy.
In the west side of the Bronx, down by Yankee Stadium area.
Yes.
And it was the old 4-4. It was the one right on the water.
Right, yeah, right by the Deegan.
Now
right
it's right
Yeah.
by the Deegan.
CRC
And it was,
is there now.
Yeah, CRC's there, right?
Now it's I think it was a task force for a while.
Yeah, it was Brown's task
Now
force.
it's probably SRG.
That's what it is. SRG, not
SRG,
CRC. I'm sorry.
SRG.
CRC, I think is like Randall's Island or something like that.
Yeah,
all right,
So
continue.
I get assigned there, and we're fingerprinting, and people are coming in and getting fingerprinted. And we're doing that for 6 months. And then they came up with a new thing. The city of New York invented 911.
Oh, okay.
Because it used to be, believe it or not, there was communications in each borough. You had to call a 10-digit number, and you'd get connected. And you're going to like this, Jason.
Okay.
Because in the Bronx, it was the 4-6 precinct. There's a garage in the back.
Yeah.
That was CU.
Oh, wow.
That was Bronx Communications.
Oh, see,
So
it's
we
coming full circle now. Loving it.
So now they're going to condense it all and make a 911 system, 911 system.
Okay.
And it was working out of police headquarters, which was 240 Center Street.
Okay.
It's a big building right between, I think, Spring and Broome. And Broome was the main property clerk.
Gotcha.
Right? I think that was where the famous French Connection stuff was stolen from.
Yeah.
But we were that big, fancy, Gothic-looking building. And I was assigned there midnights and doing the 911 system.
Central.
Did that for a year and a half until February 2nd. Almost like it was 2 years. I did that until I got appointed a patrolman.
Wow.
PTL.
So then you go to the academy then.
Right.
Damn.
Right
You
before
did
that,
all
we
of
went
that
to
and
the
then went to the academy.
How long was that academy? Was it 6
4
months?
months.
It was 4 months? Okay, cool.
4 months of 4 hours of class, 3 hours of gym, an hour lunch. And we only did eight to 4s. And they had certain rules I heard they don't have today because they changed.
Let me hear these rules. I need to hear these rules.
One rule was the Cinderella Rule. That means you had to be home by 12 o'clock midnight on any night, even on the day offs.
Holy
like Saturday and
That's a pretty
Sunday. We
good
went to the
rule.
Yeah,
academy.
you out of trouble.
I didn't even know what the hell. No, they didn't have that when I was in there.
So
So
that is smart.
And the
That's
other
definitely
rule,
gone.
and the only way
Cinderella
you would
rule.
get in trouble, obviously, if you got into a fight or an injury or a car accident or
Gotcha.
something that was recorded by the police, then you'd get jammed up. So that was the Cinderella law, and you went to the academy 4 months, just 8 to 4s. And the other big rule was, which we broke all the rules, but the other rule was you weren't allowed to drive to work. You had to take public transportation. And now you were a presence. You're on the subway or the train.
Yes.
And you're in a gray uniform,
Okay, I
head
did
to
that.
toe, and you carried a big bag,
Yep.
a big gym bag, and then on top of it, you had your nightstick.
You had your baton. Okay, I did the same thing. All right, cool. I don't feel so bad now. Wait, so
Well, that was the old school stuff.
I kind of cheated the system a little bit. I would drive down, and so you couldn't park in the confines of the 13th. So
right.
I
We
would
put it in a garage.
Yeah, I would drive down towards Alphabet City, and then I would take the bus up. But we'd have to stand and have your bag in your non-dominant hand, and they would have guys on the street like inspections that would run up on you and take deportment cards if you had it in your dominant
The
hand.
pink card.
Yep.
Well, we had a thing. I think it was called. It was actually. I know it. It was called gig cards.
Gig cards. Okay.
A gig card. Don't even ask me what that means. But that's
It's a
what they call
military.
it.
It's a military thing because I remember my dad
okay.
used to always tell me, make sure your gig line's straight. So that's when your
okay.
your uniform, right? So your buttons have to match where your belt buckle is. If that was out of line, you got a deportment card taken from you. That was another thing. And
Well, that's where I guess it came from.
okay, that's
you're
where
right.
it came from. Absolutely.
And the police department's always considered semi-military.
Yeah, paramilitary, absolutely.
So it came from You're right. From
Yeah.
your father,
Yeah.
was right about that.
All right. So
That's what they call them gig cards.
so 4-month academy, right?
Right.
So I want people to understand too the time frame that you were a police officer. New York City was going through it at that time.
That's
There's a
right.
lot of financial hardships, right?
Well, the financial hardships hit a head in 1975.
75. Okay. All right. So we were
75.
heading towards that.
Heading
Okay.
toward. But the big problem of 1970 or in the late 60s, when I was a trainee and going into the academy and
Yeah.
becoming a patrolman, the big thing was the Knapp Commission.
Knapp Commission. Okay.
That was a big corruption probe where they were locking up cops by the dozens per day, and it was all televised.
Really?
Is that Serpico?
I was
Is
actually
that Serpico?
yes,
That's right.
yep,
Okay.
that's what it was. And the guys were telling me, you see, now you look back and you say, yeah, we were the real cops, and we were, that's when you could be a cop. But the guys were all saying at that time, it was tremendous. It was an overhaul of the whole entire New York City Police Department, and everyone was saying, the job's dead, kid.
Really?
Job's dead. Like they say now.
Like they
It
say
goes
now,
through
yeah.
these periods.
It's
you know?
funny. It's
60
funny how
years
history
later.
kind of repeats itself.
I think there's a tremendous change in the job every 20 years.
Yes.
Goes through
My father told me the same thing.
20 years seems to be it, like that generation.
Yeah,
And there's
absolutely.
something big happens that just converts the department.
Yep.
Either how they police or what's going on and what changes the whole structure.
Got you.
And this was the Knapp Commission thing. And I started out the job, when you get out of the academy, getting back to the academy, you get out and that's it. You're on your own. You go to a precinct and you just, there's no field training, no NSU, no all these things that break you in. They just put you on the street. You don't even know where you're supposed to be. They tell your kid, you got post 5.
Yep.
You got to find the map and find out where the hell's post 5,
That kind of brings back memories to when I got out. When I got out, like I said, I went to the 4-6 precinct. All right, I was Operation Impact, and they literally gave me a radio and a map and said, "Kid, you got post 5-5 and 5-6. That's Davidson Ave. Go figure it out."
Yeah.
And it's the blind leading the blind. So it's a bunch of newbies out there walking on foot, don't know where the hell they're going. Leather smells brand new. Shield is super shiny.
Everybody knows you're
Everybody knows you're
Everyone knows in
brand
the
new,
street you're brand
right?
new.
And it's just like you're literally a target to these guys because they would mess with the new dudes,
Of course.
all the time. They would test you. I remember my first collar was a fist fight, dude. And the guy was like, "Listen, I'm not going anywhere, rookie. So do what the fuck you got to do." And I was like, "All right, let's go." And the rest is history. I don't want to get into that, but nonetheless, it just hearing him talk just kind of brings things back to me. I mean, I don't have that much time on there. I got 16 years on. It's a decent amount of time, but now I hear somebody who has.
I'm retired going on 30 years.
See, so he's been retired for as long as I've been on this earth. Okay, so
It sounds crazy when I say these numbers.
yeah, it kind of puts things into perspective for people, All right, so I'm sorry I interrupted.
Almost every guy on the job today, wasn't born when I retired.
What year did you retire?
Well, officially it was January 84, but I got hurt in August of 83. I was hospitalized for quite a while.
Okay.
And then I never went back to work. They carried me, the job took care of me very well.
Okay.
And the DEA and the union, they took care of me very well. But I was carried from August 1st to January 30th
Wow.
of 84. But
God bless, man. It's dope.
it's a young man's job, and most guys are under 41, because they get out at 41.
Yeah,
So most of the job, I'd say probably 85% is, only
So
the
back
bosses are older, pretty much.
So back then, would you say like a lot of the new guys getting hired were like super young?
Well, it was
would you
always
say it's a good
a
mix?
young man's job.
Okay.
You were allowed to be up to 35, and you could add years if you had military.
Yeah,
time.
military, yeah.
But it was always a young man's job. Most guys who come on, I would say, were, like 21 to 25.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I was young, man. I was like 22. Still wet
23
behind the
for
ears,
me.
breath smelling like Similac, dude. I was just super young.
We all were. You learn. There's nothing. You go through the academy, and they teach you some good stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got to learn the laws and the procedures, and the physical training was great.
Yeah, you mentioned that you guys went full contact boxing.
And you know what happens if you didn't go full contact? If they see you didn't,
Yeah.
the instructor would step in and you say, "You're fighting me," and he'd fuck you up.
Time to get down.
Love it.
You got it, because it was better that way, because it's not going to be fake fighting on the street.
Yeah, no, you're gonna get punched
You got
in
to
the
be
face.
prepared. It's just like the military.
Yeah. Mike Tyson says it best, man. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Yeah.
Yep.
That's right.
I hear that.
Very good line.
I hear that.
But, you can fire at paper targets and be an expert all day, but when you got to face bullets coming back at you, it's a different story.
I want to get into that. So I'm watching the special, right? And one of the shootings, you stated that you were trained to, so you guys carried 6-shot revolvers back then.
That was the on-duty.
That was the on-duty.
Most guys carried a Smith. The on-duty was a Model 10 Smith & Wesson 6-shot.
Okay.
But most guys carried a Smith & Wesson 5-shot as a backup or off-duty. But I didn't.
You didn't.
I always went with a Colt.
Okay.
Because a Colt carried 6 shots. Why should I have 5 when you have the same frame? Everything's the same size.
Gotcha.
Go with a 6-shot.
So it's interesting that he says that. So he goes, one of the shootings.
I think I know where you're going with.
Yeah, he stated that you were trained to shoot 5 and then assess before you let go of the last round.
Well, you're always trained to count your shots.
Count the bullets.
Count the bullets.
Which is hard to do when you're in a
Absolutely,
gun
because you kind of.
That's crazy.
But we started carrying, I think it was around my time in the late 60s, the guys, it was very, not too common, but we started carrying backup guns.
Yeah.
In the ankle holes. I'll tell you something funny about backup guns. When I became a detective in 75, we did a lot of interviews in Rikers Island or prisons. You go there and interview just like a suspect, even though he's in jail, you're going to lock him up later for another crime when he goes to court.
10-4.
You find out his court dates, you wait there. If he gets ROR or released or whatever, or bail, or you place him under arrest and take him through the system again if he's wanted for another crime and you already got the evidence and the proof.
Yeah.
But I used to go into prison, and they were very strict, the prisons, and they used to make you check your gun. They had but I always said, I ain't going into prison unarmed. So I used to wear an ankle holster.
The backup
they put me on the bus. I go into prison with a gun. It was crazy
every time, right?
Yeah, all the time. We used to get away. If they knew that, they'd kill us. But we went in there.
So your backup was a Colt.
It was always a Colt. And then when a lot of times I carried 2 Colts. If I went into the anti-crime, I didn't want to wear the big gun in my waist. The big gun was more of a sidearm that you carry in a holster on duty. So we carry 2 Colts.
God damn.
And then a couple of shootings, I needed both guns.
Absolutely.
Rocking and rolling, Ralph. Rocking and rolling.
All right.
Ralph.
So you get out of the academy. You go to.
I go to the 4-4.
You go to the 4-4.
I mean, no, I go to the 4-1.
You go to the 4-1.
Right.
Fort Apache.
And you had no pull. No one knew where you're going. When you got your last
Did you guys
day,
have dream sheets back then? Did they ask you where you wanted to go? I think it's complete bullshit because I asked to go to Patrol Borough Bronx was my last choice, and that's what the hell they sent me.
It always works that way.
I wanted to go to transit, but they were like, nah, kid, you're going to
the dream sheet. This is actually a funny academy story. We're all put it in, and a kid, we're all getting, Vos 4-2, and everyone's like laughing, and this kid got called a 5-0. We're like, who do you know? He's like, I don't know anybody. We're like, come on, who do you know?
It's the luck of the draw. Unless you got
on my paper, I wrote to avoid potholes and to save tolls. And we're like, we couldn't believe it. We started cracking up just like that. So he just started calling him Pothole by his first name. And he got it. That's what he said. But that was like, come on, avoid potholes. And everyone would have wrote that. Crazy.
It's ridiculous, bro.
Yeah. I think I put down all Bronx precincts because I was such a Bronx guy,
I hear you.
Right.
I'll be honest, I don't remember if I put down the 4-1 or not. But when I got the 4-1, when you went to check the big board, the big bulletin board with the sheets on it, and I went to the 4-1, I was happy because it had a reputation. And you figure if you're going to break in, you want to break in, the real deal.
Learn
like if
fast.
you work in the 4-1, it's like equivalent to doing like 8 years in another precinct.
Absolutely.
I mean,
that's
the
an A
stuff
house.
was-
Yeah. I mean, you're
it
running
was
and
a
gunning.
super A.
Did they have the rule where you couldn't live in your precinct and patrol there? Did that
I think
rule
so,
exist
yeah.
there? Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, you couldn't work in your own
And where'd
precinct.
where'd you grow up in the Bronx?
Kingsbridge in the Concourse,
Kingsbridge in
a
the
couple of blocks north of Fordham Road.
Okay.
Right opposite Poe Park, if you ever heard of Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah,
Had
yeah.
the house in the park there.
Yeah.
I live right across the street.
That's the confines of the 5-2.
5-2.
Okay, yeah. I grew up in the 5-0. I was on 251 in Broadway.
Those were actually the 2 good precincts in the Bronx.
Yeah, absolutely.
The 5-0 and the 5-2.
Yeah, 5-0 and the
were the
5-2.
good precincts.
What about the 4-5 then?
Yeah, that was good
That was
too.
pretty decent back then, right?
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, that was more homes, private homes.
Okay.
4-5 was more where buildings were in the 5-0 and 5-2. Like the real middle class.
how
if
was
you had a little more money, you lived in the 4-5 because you could buy a home.
How was Orchard Beach then?
As far as what?
It's I guess, in far as
Everybody-
crime and the area and everything like that. Like,
Well, they always
was
had
it
an
more
Orchard Beach
families or-
detail.
Right.
And it was a busy place, and everybody went there. It was called like the Bronx Riviera.
Yeah, that's what they used to call it back. That's what my dad used to say.
And you know what? Everybody had their
yourself.
sections. You know, I think we always hung in section 8.
Okay.
I don't know, but each, like different groups or ethnicities had different sections. And it was just like you just went to that area. I don't know why. It just happened that way. And you always met your friends there.
Awesome.
But it was a really big hopping place in the summers.
Orchard Beach.
Orchard
Got a lot of
Beach.
memories there, kid.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's where I learned how to swim.
Look at that.
Nonetheless, so you get you get to the 4-1. What was your first assignment?
Just a foot post. Yeah, everyone goes on foot. And they pick you up all the time, radio cars, to do one of two things. You either go into the hospital to sit with a psycho, or you go into some apartment and sit with a DOA until the
I've
ME
been
comes
there,
and
did
releases
that.
it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, those are the two things. You know, you get a foot post, you have no idea what you're doing. You know, and you know you feel good though because they train you and psych you up.
Yeah.
You know, you're the police. You know, but you feel a little like, you know, what do I do? You know, but you got your wits and you got your gun, your shield, your gun. Your
You guys had
nightstick
speed
was a big
loaders
thing.
too back then?
No.
You didn't. You guys didn't have the speed loaders.
We didn't have beepers, cell phones, radios.
So
speed
if something happens
all
on the
that
street, you
stuff
have a
was-
call box.
So you had to go to a
and
call
everything,
box?
or-
Yeah.
And you just hit a button. You don't talk into it, or you just press
It
a
was a
button?
hard wire, like in the cars were hard wire. It was like a black
Holy
headset with a black wire that went into the dash, and there was a box, and you pick it up
Man, this is
and you connect.
this
it,
is old school
see
right
you.
here. I love it.
And in the squad rooms, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but they had the thing called a squawk box.
So what's a squawk box?
It was like a box like this that's in the radio car, but it's on the wall.
Oh,
and the
shit.
detectives sitting in the thing would hear everything that goes on in the street.
Okay.
You know, and they would respond if they hear a homicide on the air or a
Yeah.
shooting, or if you made a good collar, they'd come out.
Oh,
You know.
okay, cool. That's kind of dope.
It was cool in most circumstances.
Yeah,
But sometimes you get a couple of guys that would come out try to take your collar.
Yeah, because I'm about to say squad guys just do that to us all the time.
And I had a couple of fist fights with detectives.
Hey,
And you know
old
what's
schools.
funny when you said about the wish list, dream list.
Yeah.
When I went down for the interview for detective, they said, "How would you feel if we left you in anti-crime with a gold shield?" I said, "Oh man, that's just what I want. I want to live in anti-crime forever."
Yeah, because I know you're not a fan of wearing suits or nothing
No,
like that.
never
right?
did. So what happened was, of course, they put you in the squad, you know. And then I went to the, actually went to the 3-4 squad for 2 days.
Really?
And I didn't want to be there, but I spent 2 days there. And then I went into CIC school, criminal investigation course.
Okay.
And the job told me that the numbers are in place. You know, they're not going to change. They're set.
Yeah.
They're frozen. There had to be a certain amount of detectives in different boroughs and squads. And they said the only way I could get to the Bronx is if I made a mutual.
Gotcha.
So on my own, I went to every precinct all the time, put up signs, and anyone wanted me. And I wound up finding a guy with the 5.2. So I knew some guys on the job,
Okay.
and they made it happen right away. So when I
that's
got out
awesome.
of CIC school, I went to the 5.2.
That's aces.
Wow.
You know, and I lived in the 5.2, but I moved out of the 5.2 at the time. I moved out on my own when right when I went in the academy.
Gotcha.
You know, and it was funny going to the 5.2 because I knew the area, but I just wanted the Bronx
Yeah.
because I had the system down with the court. And the 3-4 was a great house.
Yeah, but it's a completely different system.
Yeah,
in
and I would have to
Manhattan.
drive to it like longer than the Bronx just to get to the courtroom.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
you couldn't park in the traffic.
Yep.
And I didn't know the streets and I didn't know the court system. I knew every DA. I knew the system, and I knew how to play the system.
Okay.
You know, so I could make 2-3 collars a day. Ooh. You know, you couldn't always. We had a system going, and it worked for us.
All right. So I want to kind of talk about this one particular incident where they kind of changed the rules with bringing perps into the building and having your firearm with you. You want to talk about that?
Well, I was a rookie in the 4-1 at the
Okay.
time, and that night I got assigned to station house security.
Yes, sir.
Because it was the Black Liberation Army was operating then.
Okay.
Where they were ambushing cops in the street with fake calls, but there was also chances that they would go to a precinct.
And just run.
Because they did that in other states.
Okay.
I think they did it a couple of times in California, and there was places across the United States where police were attacked at the precinct level. In the streets, they attacked cops, and it was always attacked what they called a salt and pepper team. It was a black and white.
Oh.
They did that, to make their statement.
Okay.
And the BLA was an offshoot of the Panthers.
Panthers, yes.
But it was more violent. Mm-hmm. They were very violent. They were even too violent for the Panthers. They wanted to go further because they were outright attacked.
Wow.
So anyway, I was doing station house security.
Okay.
And that's where we would interview, sort of ask what you wanted to come into, sort of like a pre-screening, because you always had a lieutenant on the desk, and anyone who went to the station house had to go to the desk. But this was a pre-screening.
Gotcha.
So anyway, I'm working there at night. It was midnight. And, chomping at the bit because I always wanted to be in the street.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I hear gunshots.
Wow.
In the station house. Like, holy shit, I say. So I race upstairs. I was the first uniformed guy there. And this guy, Joseph Picciano, was fingerprinting a perp that they brought in. He was under arrest. And the detectives used to fingerprint. You always did your own fingerprinting in the station house. There was no central booking like that. And when they did all that and electronic stuff.
Yeah, pre-live scan people.
So he was fingerprinting this perpetrator who was under arrest for child abuse and abusing, sexual thing with a child.
Okay.
So he was a real predator. And as he's fingerprinting him, the guy grabbed his gun and shot him right in the stomach, killing him.
Wow.
Shot him right there. And he tried to go out of the office, right seconds before I got there.
Yeah.
And he leaps over the squad desk. And while he's in the midair, like there were 3 or 4 detectives there at the desk, they all opened up on him and shot him in midair and killed him right there. I get up there with a bunch of guys right behind me. We all raced right up there. And the smoke was just clear. It was all full of smoke from all the gunshots.
Yeah.
The perp was firing. The 3 detectives were firing, and they killed him.
Oh, so there was an exchange of fire up there too?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, he was trying to get out. The fingerprint table was at the far end of the precinct,
Gotcha.
the far end of the office. So he had to go run the length of the office to get to the door. He never would have made it out of the station house. But he didn't even make it out of the office. The detectives responded so quickly and shot him right there.
Damn.
That was the second. What floor was the printing room on? There?
Second floor.
Second floor.
The second floor was like there were only 2 rooms there at the time. There was the anti-crime to the right and the detectives to the left.
Usually squad.
And then on top of that, there was a locker room, and there was 200 TPF we had there. And we had 425 cops assigned to the precinct.
425?
425 cops were in that building, and 200 TPF. And then outside units were always converging on the 4-1 because that's where all the activity is. We had borough burglary, narcotics, street crime, anti-crimes. Everybody would come to the 4-1 to poach because all the action was there.
Because all the action was there.
When I first got there, getting back to when I first assigned to the 4-1, when I got there in early 70, first of all, you didn't get a locker. Guys had
I didn't get a locker either, so
you had to come to work in uniform or change in your car out front. So, you never got a locker until someone got transferred and they emptied out 2 or 3 lockers or they died or retired. You just didn't get a locker. You had to work months and months out of a locker, without a locker. Right, so I get there, and there was just you get there on a Friday or Saturday night, and you get a radio car when you finally got into a radio car.
Yeah,
the jobs were backed up like 20 or 30 jobs. On a 4 to 12, you'd get the car with the light and siren on, and you'd go right to midnight, light and siren on. That's how nuts it was. And when they're backed up, it was backed up with the heavy jobs, all 1030s.
Yeah,
all stuff in progress.
I mean, this is when New York City was New York City.
The Bronx was burning. That's what.
That's when that was more. Yeah, that was the mid 70s. That was towards the end of my stint at the 4-1 because I got promoted in April of 75.
Okay.
So
was that when like the turnaround was starting to happen?
That's when they had the layoffs.
Okay,
that was the first time in history
that New York City had layoffs
of civil service workers.
Okay.
And cops, that was the main thing, that your job was always secure. Could you picture going to work and at the end of the night, they tell you at the end of your shift, you go in, you got to turn in your ID card, shield, and gun.
That happened to us in White Plains.
This was the first time, 1975.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't imagine that. I mean, the main reason why people take these jobs for the job security and the pension, right?
Exactly, and benefits.
And benefits, yeah. I mean, that's the main reason why people were passing up corporate jobs to take these jobs because of the job security.
Right. Or leaving them.
For the security. And then like you said, could you imagine coming in and saying, hey, here's your pink slip, you're done. Shield, ID, gun, leave it here.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
It happened to my brother too, and he got laid off in '75.
Really?
He was a transit cop.
Okay.
But transit took care of their guys much better than city did.
Really?
Transit rehired them a couple of months later as token booth collectors.
Oh,
So
okay.
they got the time, the benefits,
Oh, okay,
stuff
cool.
like
Well, at least
that.
they took care of them.
They took care. They did a lot of token booth stuff. But another story to tell you, when I first got on, the violence was crazy.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the violence in New York City.
like I lived in the Bronx and I didn't know how crazy it was a couple of miles from my house.
Yeah, I say that all the time too because I grew up in the Bronx 251.
Well, you grew up in a 5-0.
Yeah,
a
so
really good
5-0
area.
was nice. You get, it's like North Riverdale. So now you go down to Conk and the whole
You keep going down. It's
changes. Yeah,
You think you're going to another country?
yeah. I remember
like the roller coaster, tick, 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 and then it drops down.
I'll never forget this. I was probably like 6 or 7 years old. So this is like late 80s, right? This is like late 80s. We're on the concourse by Lowe's Paradise Theater.
I know the theater. It's
right?
Nice theater. That was a nice theater one
Yeah.
time.
So we're across the street. I'm across the street with my parents. So my dad goes up into some office building there. So I'm in the car with my mom, and I see these 3 dudes look like they went and bought something. Look like it was cocaine or something. I'm a kid though. I don't know. And they're sniffing right in front of the window of my my dad's car, and I'm like, the hell is this? I'm just a child. I don't know any better. And then I remember like a week later, there was a shootout on 183 in Valentine, and 3 guys were fucking just laid out on the street. And this is like late 80s. So I can only imagine 70s, mid to late 70s, because my dad told me that New York City was a savage place. The Bronx was a savage place in the 70s.
It had a reputation worldwide.
Yeah.
But to tell you another thing, I was going to tell you when I came on as a rookie, this is a good story because it might have been the only time the New York City police had a strike.
Really?
They striked. There was only patrol
blue flu?
supervisors. Yeah, that's where the thing came from. It was 1970. And the PBA came to us as rookies and told us, listen, you guys are on probation. You have to work.
Yeah.
So I worked with a boss, right? So I didn't want to work because I wanted to be with the guys. But the guys understood that we were rookies. We'd lose our job.
Absolutely.
These guys were only, if anything, we're going to get the Taylor law where they'd get fined 2 days' pay. They wouldn't get paid.
And the probationary period back then was 2 years too?
No, I think it was like 6 or 9 months.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
It was not
'cause
2 years.
mine was 2.
now.
No, because 2 years I was already in anti-crime.
That's what?
Because I had an arrest record. So let me tell you what happened during the strike. The minute I get out there, you're going to love this story. I didn't want to be on the street. So I say, I got to make a collar, right? So as soon as I go out with the sergeant, right, we get a call of a stolen truck, right? So the guy took this truck, right? And he crashes the truck at the bottom of a hill. So he's right there. Guess what? He had no legs. He climbed into the truck. The guy left running. And he climbed into the truck off a wheelchair and took the truck and then just crashed it down the block. So I collared him and I was off the
I hope
street.
I hope you took it easy on him, Ralph. Jeez. Break his arms.
Nah,
Wow.
he
Oh,
wanted
my
to sue me, but he didn't have a leg to stand on. But that's a
you
true
can't make this
story.
up.
That's how I got off the street. So I could be with my brother officers and feel like I was doing something. Even though I was a rookie, I had to get a legit reason to get off the street.
Yeah, well, that's a legit reason if they're-
the sergeant said, take the collar.
Damn, that's crazy, bro. I want to talk about the Fox Street shooting. You want to walk us through that?
Which one? I had 2 on Fox.
2. The first one on Fox.
The first one was, it was in November, like around 72 and 1972. I was assigned to court that day. And I got back from court early. And another member of the 4-1 anti-crime came back from court early. He wasn't my partner, but we were in the same unit.
Yeah.
And his name was Cal Unger. And because it was a 20-man unit. And guys are going to court left and right.
Crime was 20 guys?
Anti-crime was 20 guys in 4-1.
Wow.
You work different tours or the same tour?
Different tours.
Okay. All right.
And I know it was 20 because we went out, we did it on our own, to not get off your story, but we bought 20 shotguns and we bought 20 vests on our own.
Wow.
We bought it right around the corner.
Is it true you guys used to take your personal vehicles if there wasn't any cars on
Oh, I
them?
took I was authorized my whole career, except when I was in uniform. I did about, As soon as I got into anti-crime, my cars were all authorized. I didn't pay for
This
gas
is a
for
different
14
time,
years.
bro. This is a different time.
I even had my Harley motorcycle approved, and I did some jobs with it. I went up, did some,
Yo, this is some
went after
legendary
some
shit
drug
right here.
dealers
I
on a
love it.
Harley.
I love it.
And the job knew about that I was using my Harley a few times.
Yeah.
That one time I was being traded to New Jersey. The Bronx DA's office wanted to use me for an undercover job in New Jersey. And they didn't want to use anyone connected to Jersey.
Okay.
No state troopers or cops. They figured they used to trade out of state.
Yeah.
And you got authorized. I don't know how with the liabilities and stuff. But they were using me to go into a motorcycle gang in Jersey. It was called off the last minute. But my bike got authorized for the job.
Wow, bro. This is this is like mind blowing.
I hope you
dude.
didn't transport anyone on the motorcycle in cuffs with you back there hanging
I
out.
had my partner, Tim Kennedy, on the back. And we used to do a couple of sneak up on some drug. I'll tell you that story after. But getting back to the Fox
Back
Street.
to Fox Street.
Ralph,
Okay.
can you let the listeners know how close Fox Street is to the 4-1?
It's right there,
Right
the
there.
4-1 precinct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Fox runs like north to south.
Right, so
and it ran,
For people listening, it's literally like 3 blocks away.
Yeah, but it runs the whole length.
Right.
It could be far away. You know, I killed guys on both ends of Fox Street.
Right. Maybe I'm thinking of the one closer. Maybe the story I'm thinking of the one closer to the precinct. That's the second story or this one?
That's the first one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was 992 Fox
Yep.
Street.
Yeah, that was the first shooting, 992.
Yeah.
And that was a very bad building, right?
Yeah,
Crime-wise?
every building was bad. You know, we didn't have tenements, you know, or housing projects.
They were just-
no, they were all like 5-story walk-ups. Because I think the law was then, if you went to the 6th or 7th story, you had to have an elevator. We had no elevator.
Jeez.
You know, we didn't. And another thing, when you mentioned about the coke thing that you saw some kids snorting up by the Paradise, I never saw any drug until 1975. The only drug only dealt with one drug. Well, actually 2, but one was provided by the city. The only drug we ever saw was heroin. And then and then the city started giving out methadone, which was the same fucking thing.
Same shit,
It
yeah.
was the same shit. It was liquid heroin.
That's
My
another-
dad said
they
it
thought
looked
they
like
were doing
zombies,
something. Yeah,
just
Oh,
zombies
yeah.
walking around.
But
Yeah.
it was all, I never saw marijuana. I never saw weed. I never saw hash. Never saw coke. That was
Till
rich
75.
Still 75. I never saw nothing. And one of the first things I ran into was liquid coke.
Wow.
I was we were eating in a diner, and I went into the bathroom, and there was a guy there with a vial of liquid, and I didn't know what it was, but I knew he had something illegal at the time. And he was a male nurse in Montefiore, and then when he came out, he was with 2 girls, and they were nurses, and they had vials, and when we wind up, it was liquid coke.
Oh,
They used to use that. They were stealing it from the hospital because when they do surgery, right, they used to clean the scalpels and instruments with coke,
Wow.
with liquid coke.
I never knew that, dude.
They also prescribe coke, crystallized coke, for treatment of eyes.
Really?
I was friends with a pharmacist, and he used to show me the coke in the pharmacies.
Damn. I never knew none of this stuff, bro.
You don't
I'm
learn
learning
this
right
stuff
now,
in the
dude.
academy,
Yeah.
but you come across this stuff, and that was one of the first, other than heroin arrests, that I made when I got up to the 5-2. I made it right off of Webster. There was a diner there. Wow. Webster and Fordham.
This is all like eye-opening things to me, bro. I have no
So
idea.
getting back to the shooting.
Yeah, go
so
ahead.
me
Come back to
and
it.
Calunga, we both get back from court early, around noon, and the boss assigns us together. So we go out in his private car, which was a Beetle, Volkswagen
yeah,
Beetle.
I remember
the
this.
little ugly thing?
Yeah, yeah.
I hated Volkswagen. So we go out in his car, right? And we're driving around for about an hour and a half and stuff. It was around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And we as anti-crime, you don't respond to radio calls. You're supposed to do everything on your own, pick up jobs and find suspects. But you would back up guys in the 4-1, you back up uniform. So we picked it up as a backup because there was a burglary in progress. And then as we're going, the call escalated to a girl in the apartment screaming for help. So now it becomes like a home invasion, or you'd say, or that's a new word. We didn't have that word then.
Yeah, more or less.
But we go there, and we got there before the uniform car. So we decided to go upstairs because it's a girl, because we figure a civilian's in trouble. So we're not going to wait if someone's calling for help. So we go up there, and obviously it's on the top floor, and we get up there, and we see the door ajar, and the frame was broke, so we knew someone broke in, and we hear her screaming.
Mm-hmm.
So we go in, right, and it was pitch black. I mean, they had sheets and blankets, everything on the windows,
Yeah.
It was pitch black. We couldn't see anything. And we hear the screaming, and we know now the layout was that you came in, you're in like a living room area, and then straight ahead in front of you was like a hallway that led straight into a bathroom, and then to the right was a bedroom.
Yeah.
We didn't notice because it's pitch black, but we hear the voice in the back, right? So we head to the back, and we're side by side in this hallway, and all of a sudden, a male jumps out of the back bedroom and opens fire, and it was 3 feet away, and we're in a hallway. 3 feet away, but as far as you and me are now, we start shooting it out, the three of us. And it gets closer. I see it from the corner of my eye. My partner's right to my left. I see him going down, and he's shooting at the guy as he's going down. But he was hit right away. I open up fire, and I did fire 5 rounds, and I knew I held back one. But the guy, it was like in a flash of a second, but I was new, and I was like trained in this. It was still fresh in my mind. And the guy runs right into me. And we can't even, it was like a club because it was strobe lighting. Yeah. All you saw was muzzle flash.
Yeah, okay.
He's firing at our muzzle flash, we're firing at his, and it's in a hallway, and all the bullets are ricocheting around. My partner got hit like 7 times, but 5 were direct hits. 2 were ricochets. They took him out with a tweezer, one from his arm and one from his back. But the others were direct hits. One hit him in the sac that holds fluid under the heart.
Yes.
So the guy runs into me, and I grab him. He didn't have a shirt on. And I grab him by his trap, and I grab it, and then he presses into me, and he still got his gun in his hand and everything. I fire my last round right into his chest. Actually, it was pressed against his nipple. They never found the nipple. You know, it was right into his heart, and it killed him right there. Jesus. Then we had to rush my partner out. Now, my partner was alive. Thank God he did survive. But he made medical history. He took 72 pints of blood in 3 hours. Wow. That's like it's pouring out of you.
Wow.
You know? And
by the grace of God, that man is
and we didn't
here.
wait for an ambulance. We carried him down.
Yep.
I'm going to tell you some of the things that saved his life. The first thing, that the police were right there because they were still responding to the burglary. They were only like less than a minute behind us or 2, maybe 1 or 2 minutes behind us. So the cops were on the way before I even picked up his radio. My partner had the radio, and I'm calling 1013, officer shot. And they were there. They were like busting and coming through the door as I'm calling it.
Wow.
That's how fast the response was.
Thank God
because
for that.
they were on the way.
Yeah.
So we carried him down these stairs. We didn't wait for an ambulance because we knew he was hit bad. So we get him into the car, right? Now, you know, we both guys know when the 13 happens and you're putting it over the cop himself, you know how many cars are there.
Everybody's coming. The cavalry's coming, yeah.
So now the radio car that got him in the car, they're like bumping cars to move him out of the way.
Wow.
To get him out of the, it was frantic. But we're doing this, these cops saved his life on the fast response. But now they're blocked in. So they're tapping cars to bang him out of the way to move the car out.
Jesus.
Because guys couldn't move him fast enough. Wow. And while they're doing that, they radioed Highway. And Highway closed every street.
Oh, so give you guys a straight shot.
Right. Because
awesome.
you're going light and siren, but you still got it in your mind, think of an intersection.
Yeah.
Now you had like a clear racetrack because Highway cleared everything. Everything was blocked off, and the radio car from the precinct just went straight to Jacoby Hospital. Wow. Now, that all saved his life, too. And another component of saving his life was a good friend of mine who I worked out in the gym, may he rest in peace because he died now. His name was Harry Jaffe. Mm-hmm. He was a partner of mine that worked out in the gym, not a partner in the job, a workout partner.
Gotcha.
Guy that I went to the gym with all the time. And he was the head guy in Jacoby's blood bank who made the platelets that they needed to save his life.
Wow.
Now, if he would have went to a neighboring hospital, they'd still need these guys to make the blood plates, but it would take time. Since he was in Jacoby, they just put the platelets right upstairs and saved his life too.
Wow, dude, that's crazy.
All those doctors and nurses and they all got awards from the police commissioner for help saving my partner's life.
Wow. Dude.
And I was going on the news. I was going to have a news conference.
Yes, I know you had it. Yeah.
And the mayor, they tell me the mayor wants to see it. And he flew, I don't know if you know the Bronx too well over there, but he landed his helicopter. He flew in and landed his helicopter on Pelham Parkway outside of Jacoby to catch me before there was a news guy. He wanted to make sure I was in right mind, sound mind, and body, you know. It was Lindsay.
Oh,
Mayor
okay.
Lindsay.
All right, yeah.
And he seemed very concerned. I'll give him that. And he was very concerned about my partner, and he spoke to me and said anything I could do. And, you know, and the funny thing, I was told I was getting the Medal of Honor and I was going to be promoted to detective. You know, they told me that. The PBA said, you're getting the Medal of Honor. Then we wound up getting nothing, believe it or not.
You got nothing for that?
Nothing. Well, we got honorable mention That's the highest medal there is.
Okay.
And then
I was about to say.
after honorable mention, you get put in for Medal Day,
Yeah.
and you get either a Medal of Valor, Combat Cross, or Medal of Honor. But we didn't get any of those because there was some bad publicity because the newspaper wrote it up saying that he lived in the apartment. But the bottom line was he lived across the street with his wife.
With his wife.
And he lived over here with his girlfriend.
Yeah, side
collecting welfare on both sides. And the girl who was beating up was his girlfriend was threatening to tell his wife. So he was going to really tune this girl up, maybe even beat her to death. So we saved her, and we saved my partner's life and my own life. And, because always people say, you took a life. They always say you got the kills. But the other side of the coin is we also got the saves. We saved lives when we had to take a life.
Yeah.
We might have saved 3 lives that day. Mine, my partner's, and the girl.
Yeah.
So that's the side, that people don't always look at. They say, oh, that cop killed somebody. But the side, obviously I was justified because otherwise I'd be lose the job and go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
But you commit an act when you have to use deadly physical force, you're saving lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in my other cases were the same thing. Otherwise I wouldn't have been justified.
Yeah, man.
But thank God my partner lived. He retired. And
did he go out 3/4 or?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
So he didn't get the combat cross, even your
No,
partner?
neither one of us got any medal.
And how many times was he shot again? 6 or 7?
He was shot direct, 5 hits direct, and 2 that
Ricocheted?
were ricocheted. We don't know how many ricochets were going around, but we fired 18 rounds between the 3 of us.
In a matter of 3 feet.
Right here.
3 feet.
In this, like in this room, basically.
But it was. Let me tell you how the footage that I said it was 3 feet meant a lot. There's a very good follow-up story to it that you'll find interesting. When the detectives investigate the case, you always had to be investigated by detectives afterwards. Anytime a police officer, but the public should know, you're really investigated a lot by a shooting team, precinct detectives, IAD, the DA's office.
Yeah.
No matter, even though that was known as a Wild West time and there was a lot of shootings, and we weren't cowboys. You were always checked. The police department is very concerned about that stuff. But the thing was, the detectives were investigating the case, and when they investigated through the morgue and everything. The ME, when they went down there, the detectives told me, the ME said, he says, detectives, you got an execution here. They said, this cop executed the guy, right? So the detectives said, they compare it to their notes and everything I say.
Yeah.
And I said, we started at 3 feet apart, and he ran into me, and my gun was pressed against him. See, because the ME found there was stifling, what they call stifling and stuff, and powder burns on the inside of the body.
Yeah.
How close it was.
Says,
That's how close you were.
I was pressed against it, but I testified. If I said I was 5 feet away and I shot him before he got to me, I would have been arrested.
Yeah.
Because my story wouldn't have
Wouldn't
jive with the facts.
1,000%.
So the ME thought it was an execution, but the detective said no. All his statements that he gave to everybody involved said that it started 3 feet away and he ran into him and I pressed my gun. But these things all matter. This is how technical and how much you're investigated and how you got to tell the right thing and articulate what you did the correct way.
Yeah.
Sometimes you could be right and say the wrong thing and get jammed up.
Get jammed up, absolutely.
But the evidence, that's how close they monitored it and investigated. And the detective said, well, no, his statements match what you say.
Yeah.
So it wasn't an execution. It was how it played out, what happened. But that was a follow-up to it,
Mm-hmm.
But it just shows you that, everything's investigated properly.
Now, how many total shootings were you involved in?
15.
15.
But 2 of them weren't with people.
Oh, yeah, 2 dogs, right?
2 dogs I had to shoot.
2 dogs.
And, I'm a dog person now, and I was a dog person then. And one I had to kill. The other one I shot. But I'll tell you fast stories on it. The first one, we made some collars. It was drug collars. Actually, it was weed, right? Made some weed collars, and the guys wanted to give up some people. So they gave up some people, and they said they got coke and pills and this and that. They said they have everything. And they gave us a location. So the boss says, okay, I've been making a lot of narcotics arrests too. Me and my partner were big on that.
Yeah.
We were big on everything. So we were taking everything, and we started making the Bronx narcotics look a little bad. So the boss says, listen, now you got a specific location that you're already in the precinct to know about. He says, we're going to have to notify Bronx narcotics. You'll be the lead, but they got to go.
Yeah.
So we get together with narcotics. We all go up there. We hit the door. No warrants.
Okay.
It was a different time.
Old school glory. Go ahead, I'll take it.
The warrants were the bottom of your shoe.
Yeah.
So we hit the door and we get in there. We lock up a few people right away, and there was guys in the back. It was a back room. We hit the back room, and right to the left of my left was a narcotics guy with a shotgun, and there was a bathroom there.
Yeah.
And the guy, we hit the door, and right away the guy's like behind the bed, and he has a German Shepherd there growling and snarling and everything, and he says, "Get him." And the dog leaps up, and the guy with the shotgun doesn't fire. I nudge him away, push him into the bathroom, and I open fire and shoot the dog and kill him. Right? So let me tell you the follow-up story on that. I go home, right, after we do all the paperwork, make the college. Next tour I'm in, the next day or so, I come in, and all the guys are quiet in the office, right? They're all sitting there. And they said, "Hey, Ralph, did you see the 49 on this?" I said, "No." Because, the boss says, so they leave the 49 there. So I'm reading the 49. It says, there's a complaint and stuff filed that the dog was a guiding eyes dog.
Oh,
And they're breaking my balls, And they say, "Ralph, you killed a guiding eyes dog." I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Yeah, they're making a complaint." And it was a whole 49. And they broke my, and then it was a joke.
Yeah, I'm about to say, gotta be a joke, though, because...
But the boss' signature was on it, because I know his signature, because he's doing 49s on me every day.
You had to hang that in your locker. I hope you didn't get rid of it.
They were fucking around with me,
That's a good stick right there, bro. I'll tell you that. I'd have been shitting bricks.
I felt bad,
Yeah, especially if you see like the...
And I felt bad about shooting the dog to begin with, because I'm a dog guy, I had a shepherd myself at the time.
I mean, at that point, though, you got to do what you got to do.
Of course. But they really played it up,
Yeah, dude.
So then the other shooting with a dog was... We're on the north end of the precinct. We're right by Meshulah Parkway.
Okay, yeah.
Right? And I think we're on Bainbridge. Right where it hits.
Meshulah and Bainbridge, very familiar.
And Meshulah Parkway. And we hear a radio run of a burglary in the south end of the precinct. And we're heading north.
Yeah.
In the north end, right by the precinct.
Yeah.
Actually. But this was the kind of luck that I had on the job, right? So this was really down almost by the 4-6. That's how far south it was, right? And they give a plate number of the perpetrator leaving the scene. And would you believe, right in front of us is the car. Right in front, the only car in front of us. And there's the plate.
Sitting right there.
Right? So we get out of the car. We hit the siren. We're on an unmarked. Me and my partner, Roger Cortez, was there. Right? He was my first detective partner. So we get out of the car, and I had my gun out. Right?
Okay.
And my partner goes to the passenger side because I was driving. So I go to... And the door swings open of the car. You see two guys in the car, right?
Yeah.
Right? You see the two guys in the car. So my partner takes the passenger side, I take the driver's side, but I got my gun out. I guess my partner didn't see me take my gun out. But that was common, but he didn't really see me take it out because I'll tell you what happened after. So the door swings open in the car, right? And I thought it was two guys in the car, but it was really one guy with a Doberman sitting in the thing. It looked like a person.
Oh, shit. Oh, you thought it was another person in the car?
Yeah, a big Doberman sitting there, right? So he says, "Get him."
Oh, here we go again.
Here we go with the get him.
Get him. The dog leaps over the driver, hits the ground, one hit on the ground, and pivots up at me.
Yeah, they're very agile dogs, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're beautiful dog. I had my gun out. I shoot the dog in the leg. I happen to hit him in the leg. He goes down and starts crying and skimpers behind a tree, right? My partner, we collared a guy and everything, and now radio cars are responding because there's shots fired and stuff, right? And we put over, we're stopping the car, right? Before we stopped the car, but we put it over, so cars were responding. And my partner goes, "Man, Ralph's the quickest drawer in the world." This is like, why am I working with?
So he didn't know you had it out. He just thought you kind of came from the hip and came up with it.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
That's why it was a funny story. And he's going, "Holy, what a fast drawer. I've never seen anything like that." But anyway, we collared a guy. My partner takes the perp in. Uniform takes the car in. And I go over to the dog. And I wasn't scared, And I get the dog and I lift him up and I put him in. I get him into the an unmarked.
Yeah.
Right? And I drive him. I just take the dog in the car. I say, "Central, I'm going to Manhattan." Right? And this is late at night. But I knew there was a hospital that's always open on 60th Street and East River Drive, a very world-famous animal hospital. I take the dog down there, and I tell them I'm a detective. I shot this dog. I need you to take care of him. They said they'd take care of him. I checked on him the next day. They said he was good.
Yeah.
And I left him there. I don't know what they did with him after, but I couldn't take him home because I had a shepherd already. Yeah. And I just wanted to make sure the dog was cared for. But they did. They did surgery on him and took care of him.
Oh, shit.
But I cared about the dog. Then
That's great that he didn't, try to attack you again or be?
No.
So he was. If you didn't,
He was responding to his owner.
If you weren't drawn, he would have.
He might have got me.
Got you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
They're fast and they're strong dogs. Yeah.
Damn, bro.
But my other shootings were with people who shot back at me. The dogs use their teeth.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, damn, dude. I didn't know about that one with the quick draw over there.
Yeah, there was a follow-up story. I have a few collars where the follow-ups were crazy.
But that was back-to-back days?
No.
They were, okay, I was
they were all
say.
separate days.
So
But we were making collars. We made collars pretty much every single day.
How many collars do you have?
Over 2,000.
Over 2,000. Actually, what's your tax number?
864.
God, 864. Listen, I'm
know
a
what my partner's number was?
93802.
You know, to this day, I still remember my partner's number. His number was 835-795.
Jesus.
835. He was an old timer when I got there. And you know what's funny? The boss knew about me when I came up there.
Yeah.
And he told the other guys, he says, listen, this guy got a reputation. He ain't coming in here and running this place. You know, he ain't doing shit.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So he put me with this old timer, right? And this old timer, it was a really great cop, this guy, Roger Cortez.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been around. He guarded Khrushchev. He did all these kind of things.
Okay.
Right? And he was, you know, like I said, his tax was 835, right? He had time.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, 864, I was a newbie, right?
Yeah.
Right? So he puts him with him. He puts him with me. And he says, listen, he tells my partner on the side, he tells him, look, I'm partnering you up with this guy. This guy ain't taking over. He ain't doing nothing up here. You keep an eye on him and you report to me.
Yeah.
So the first case he gives me this case, two 80-year-old women get into a fight, neighbors in a building.
Yeah.
And one 80-year-old woman hits the other 80-year-old with a hairbrush. So they make it, like it's a felony assault because she used a weapon, because the woman had like a black eye.
Oh, shit.
So, here I am making street collars and shootings, and they're telling me you're going to lock up two 80-year-olds or one of the 80-year-old. He says, let's give this case to him, because they normally probably would have closed it out.
Yeah.
But they said, let's keep it active. We'll sign it to Friedman, and let's see how he handles it. So I'm thinking now, what am I going to go? I go up there with my partner. My partner's laying back. He's letting me handle it because he's signing the case to me.
Yeah.
Right? So I go up there and I'm thinking the whole time I'm saying, I'm not bringing no 85-year-old woman in with cuffs. I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
I'm
not
saying to
doing that.
myself.
Yeah.
But the boss says, you got to handle this. And and the big thing in the squad, which I'm going to get into later, big thing with detectives and squad bosses and stuff is closing out a case. You got to have, their clearance.
Yeah.
It's clearance. You got to clear a case. You got to have some kind of results, right? So I go up there and I figured it out on the way. I said, I know what I'm going to do. So I get there, and what I do is I call for an ambulance, and I psycho the woman.
Oh,
So now I don't have to
EDP
touch her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So he goes back and he called an ambulance, and the EMS took her to the hospital to evaluate her. So now I got closure, and the boss thinks I outfoxed him.
Yeah.
Now he's a
That's
little,
actually pretty witty, though.
so I didn't have to lay my hands on it. I didn't have to tell you under arrest. I don't have to use
Yeah, I mean, it's an
cuffs.
80-year-old woman. You ain't going to,
Yeah, so that's how I disposed of the case. So now he thinks he likes that I solved it, but he also thinks, I might be a little of a wise guy.
Yeah, a little bit of a smart ass.
So
yeah.
now the next case he gives me, right? You're going to love this. Gives me a homicide of a squirrel.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Homicide of a squirrel.
Yeah.
What the
Well, the case comes upstairs, and these construction guys were working. They were building annexes to Fordham University.
Okay.
And they hear a shot fired. The shot's fired, and they find a dead squirrel there. The guy shot the
What
squirrel.
was the squirrels throwing nuts at each other? Oh, the guy shot it.
Wait till you hear how I
What
handle
the
this case.
fuck?
So we go out there, we interview the construction guys, and the boss again tells them, listen, it's Friedman's case. Let him take care of it. Right? So the guys say, we hear shots all the time, and we don't know where it came from, who did it. No one knows nothing, but we got a dead squirrel here.
Yeah.
Right? So I take some cardboard, I scoop up the squirrel, and I put him in the trunk. And now I'm feeling, I'm a little pissed myself.
Yeah.
And he's testing me again, and I got to use my head to figure it out. So I said, okay, I'm gonna fuck with this guy a little, my boss, right? So I take the squirrel.
Put it in his locker.
No, I drive it down to the ME.
Oh, shit.
I said, listen, I need an autopsy. So they throw me out, of course.
Yeah.
But now I'm getting names.
Yeah.
I said, well, Dr. M.E. so-and-so threw me out of the hospital. I'm getting the names, so I'm going to do a big 5.
Yeah.
DD5, which is for civilians out there, that's a follow-up to a complaint report. You do your investigation. So now I'm getting names and everything I'm doing. I do this whole thing, right? And I didn't hand it in yet, right? So now now they throw me out. Now I take the Squirrel down. Well, I was at Bellevue.
Yeah.
Way to Morgan. Now I take the Squirrel back. I'm driving around with the Squirrel all the time. I take the Squirrel and I bring him up to the ASPCA in the Bronx.
Okay.
I want them to do an autopsy. And the guy tells me, yeah, he was shot. So now I go back to the boss, and I do all the paperwork, and I tell him everything I did. And he's got me in his office, and he's looking at me like, are you fucking crazy? So I said, well, this is the result. I handled the thing like a homicide.
Yeah, absolutely.
How you got certain steps you go through,
Yeah.
procedures. So he says, is there any chance, he says to me, did the Squirrel commit suicide? So I said, well, I did question a few people, and they said in the neighborhood that the Squirrel was, feeling down lately, So he says, okay, we'll close it out as a suicide. Thanks. And after that, he respected me, and we became very good friends, personal friends.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when I did my TV series, Street Justice, The Bronx, which is on Amazon now,
Yeah.
I had my boss from that year, back in he was my boss in the mid-'70s. He came on the show and supported me. And
Which guy was it?
That was the lieutenant?
No, Sergeant. Stephen Cantor.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I remember Stephen
Is that
Cantor.
the same one that went to Long Island with you?
Yeah.
I want to...
He wound up being a great friend of mine, a great boss.
It started out with breaking balls a little bit. Yeah.
But he was a tough cop himself.
Yeah.
He was TPF before he made sergeant. So, TPF was not a fool around group.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody there was, gung-ho head cracker.
Did you see the
Not hats and bats.
Did you see the 49 for that one with the Squirrel?
Yeah, no, that was
No, but I'm saying,
No, I had to
I
do
wonder
the
what that
DD5,
49 what that 49 would have looked like.
Well, he never sent it further. He wasn't going to send that to the borough.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
But he tested me, and I guess I passed. He saw that.
Well, that's how he built the camaraderie, I think.
Exactly,
He
and we
saw
became
that.
very good friends.
Yeah.
And like I say, our friendship still lasts till today.
That's a beautiful thing right there.
He retired later on, and he wound up. He was a smart guy too. Besides a street cop and a squad boss, he became a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
he was a very
aces.
smart guy.
That's aces.
And a good street cop.
I'll take that.
Yeah, but it was funny how he tested me, and then after that, I took him to a lot of other big cases that we were on.
What would you say was like your
I took him.
the biggest accolade of your career? Because you have so much.
Well, as far as the department is involved,
as far as the department, I'm talking.
accolade. Well, I'm talking about as far as the department, they gave me the Combat Cross for one of my shootings, but I had a lot of cases. Me personally, I think was saving my partner's life in that shooting I just described to you was one of the biggest things in my career.
Wow.
But I've had other big cases. I've just been lucky enough. And, I really couldn't do all this on my own. I mean, everything I tell you, when I say I did this, I did that, it was always, I couldn't do anything if it wasn't for my anti-crime partners, my detective partners, and the uniforms that backed me up and gave me information. I mean, it's really, the camaraderie, like in the 4-1 was incredible.
Yeah.
And then I went to the 5-2 and I hooked up with this guy, Roger Cortez, who was my partner. And then I hooked up with a guy, Timmy Kennedy, who was my longest detective partner and my best detective partner.
Wow.
In anti-crime was a guy named Lester Rudnick. He was my direct partner. Me and him, man, we really caught some really bad guys. And because of me and him working together, they came out with a rule in the Bronx that they separated us after a while.
Really?
And they said that no two bodybuilders could work out, could be partners together.
Wow.
Because we were tuning up guys. Like I was telling you, the NAP commission was really big.
Yeah.
And they were really, if someone said you took $5, you were going downtown like 5 different trips. But if you broke someone's arm or leg or tuned the guy up, no problem.
No problem.
Not even if you didn't arrest them. If they came in and tried to make a complaint, they'd get hit over the head with a blotter by the lieutenant on the desk. And get
This
thrown out.
old school fury right here, bro.
So they didn't mind what people would call brutality today.
Yeah.
I didn't call it brutality. I call it, street justice or greasing the wheels of justice.
Yeah.
If you get 5 muscular guys beat up an 85-year-old woman, I'm telling you now, before I catch them, they resisted arrest.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Because pay the tax.
The court, all you hear about today, one of the biggest things you hear is police accountability.
Mm-hmm.
But they only hold the police responsible. They only hold the police accountable. Do you ever hear them saying, how about DA accountability?
Yeah.
Because they let them out.
Especially in the
or
Bronx.
parole board responsibility
Yeah.
or accountability or a judge. Because all these guys that commit these really heinous crimes and that are victimizing the citizens, they all got records. They should be in jail.
Yeah.
But they let them out to do it again. And everything is set up by how the perpetrator gets treated in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
If he walks all over a cop, if you let him walk all over you, he's going to walk. You made it harder for the next cop.
For the next cop, I always say that.
And if the judges let them out, you're just empowering them. So what? I get locked up. I'll be out in the 24 hours.
It's even worse now if you think about it. Yeah.
It is worse now.
Yeah.
Cops have it much harder today. We had it hard because we faced hardened criminals and there was violence in the street.
Yeah.
There's always violence and it's always a dangerous job. But today they're letting everybody out. We never heard of a cop killer getting out of jail. And Como's parole board, they're letting them out left and right.
Yeah.
All of them.
That's unfortunately
All of them.
true, but it is what it
They're
is.
letting serial killers out, big murderers. Everybody's getting out of jail. And the DAs don't prosecute no more. You saw what happened when these rioters, and I call them rioters, they're not protesters. Once you start burning police cars and stores and looting, you're not protesting. Protesting is protected, and there's a right way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But back when I was a cop, everyone was on the same side. The DAs, the bosses, the administration, the mayor, they turned you out at roll call and said, get the bad guys off the street. Make arrests. Today, they don't want that. They turn you out, say, give some summonses,
Yeah.
They want you to generate cash for the city. They don't want bad guys off the street, and the proof is that they let them right out.
They let them right out, exactly.
And they got these programs that it just goes against our grain,
Yeah.
When you do police work, you're there, you want to hire meter maids and stuff like that to do the summons work, but you need cops to get violent criminals. There's certain people, and they come in all colors and ethnicities, that don't belong with the rest of society.
Absolutely.
That's why there's prisons from the beginning of times. They have to be separated. There's some people that just not fit to live with other people until they learn to behave.
Yeah.
And the police make that distinction and bring them to court, and nobody does the job. There's no accountability after the police. We're the bottom of the line, and we're the pawns in this political game that's played.
I'm glad you said that. Yeah, I don't think people realize that.
It is. We're pawns. That's all why don't they if a guy gets out and kills somebody, the judge should be held accountable. You give a guy 20 days for a crime he should be doing 10 years for.
Yeah.
You murder people, you take a life, and you're not justified, you belong in jail.
I agree wholeheartedly.
At least for a specific, they assault police today. They order police to stand down.
They know they'll get it. The criminals know that they'll be able. If I carry a gun and I get collared, a day later I can go out and do the same thing.
Yeah, they know that.
Yeah,
they know
that's
that.
the thing.
I mean, a lot of these guys are way more versed than some public defenders.
Of course they are.
They know the law like the back of their hand. Exactly.
They know they're in and out of the system.
Yeah, so they know
more than the DAs that are handling it.
They know.
And the social media plays a big part of it, and they can pull up
what advice would you give to like a cop coming on a job now? If you could sit down with a guy who's in the academy right now, what advice would you give them?
I would say try not to get involved because you're gonna lose your job, you're gonna lose your benefits, and you're probably gonna lose your freedom. I'm still very tight with cops, and I see. I know a lot of the stuff that goes on today. Mm-hmm. I was privy when it first came out with that training video on the compression stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I have no idea. I really don't. And the people who make up these rules and laws and procedures, I can tell you one thing about them for sure. I can tell you they've never been in a fight.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know how any cop could fight a perpetrator without breaking the law.
Yeah, by following those guidelines.
Yeah, you can't fight a guy, I don't care, unless you're maybe like a 10th degree black belt.
That's a big maybe.
Yeah,
right.
But otherwise, you need like 4 cops to fight a guy who wants to resist arrest because all you could do is grab an arm and a leg. You can't touch their throat. You can't touch their neck. You can't touch the rib cage. You can't compress anything. Anything that restricts blood flow or airflow. I saw that video. It's sickening. How could you be a cop?
It's tough, man.
That's tough. You see, a cop is getting it from both sides now.
Mm-hmm.
They have no backing, and that's the most important thing in police work.
Yeah.
at least we only faced bad guys, real violent criminals and stuff. But we had DAs that were ready to prosecute. We had bosses who wanted you to get them.
Yeah, everybody was on the same page.
Everybody on the criminal enforcement side up the line. You need police are first, then your DAs, then your judges, then your parole board, and the administration. Mm-hmm. The administration from the top sets the guidelines, and it all flows. The shit flows downhill.
Yeah, sets the tone.
And that sets the tone, and it rolls downhill, and the cop is at the bottom. He does his job, but there's no one else doing the other steps to make the job complete. So the cop has it very tough today. It was always a tough and dangerous job, but it got tougher and more dangerous because, like I say, when the guys let a guy do certain things to him, the next cop who got to face the guy, the guy feels he can get away with that with you, so it makes it tougher for the next cop.
Yeah,
it's just a vicious cycle.
I mean, I get guys that ask me stuff all the time, and I'm like, listen, man, just do the best you can to stay safe and keep your fellow brother and sister cop safe.
Exactly.
That's the best advice I can give them.
A cop in itself is the kind of guy that's going to help a civilian. Yeah. So they're going to do that. But if it's other stuff, don't go looking for it. Yeah. Like I think anti-crime work today, they don't call it anti-crime. They gave a new title.
Public safety.
And gun suppression units. They do the same thing. But these guys, they're just so gung-ho, like I was, but they got no backing. I don't know how they do their job.
Yeah,
I give them a lot of credit. I always felt all the time I'm out of the job. I'm going on close to 38 years retired. I always felt I could do the job. I could come back and do it because I always felt I could make it work. Yeah. The last 2 years, there's no way I could do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I gave up. I couldn't come back and do the job these guys do today.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a completely different time now as far as like administration. And you also have to look at
the cameras ruined everything too.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Cameras changed, I think, the whole trajectory of what police work is, because now you give or take where you're at, right? But 9 times out of 10, there's a camera in the vicinity of something. Yeah. Right. So like they have fiber optics that run through cities, and you can literally zoom into a freckle on somebody's face. So you kind of got to think about that, right? So it's perception. Perception is everything. You may be doing something, and this guy, maybe he swings at you. The camera doesn't catch that. Right. The camera catches an angle of you just cleaning this guy's clock. Exactly. Now it just looks like an unprovoked, assault by a police officer. And then it gets doled out to the media.
And then when you get civilians doing it, they only click on the camera when they want to stop.
Absolutely.
The guy punches the cop, he doesn't film that. Yeah. And when the cop punches him, that gets... And then they put it out to social media. Yeah. So then the media picks it up.
Yeah. That leads to...
But you see, some of the technology is really good in helping cops. Yeah. Because if you get a crime, you could see which cars and stuff and people that walked 5 blocks away or 10 blocks away who led to that. It saved me
several times.
There's a lot of technology. You got your DNA today. You got better blood testing. There's better cameras. Yeah. The technology is beyond what we had. We didn't even have we only got in the early 70s. We just started with the reportable radios that hardly worked. And underground, they didn't work for transit at all. I think they still have trouble with
Yeah, they still have
because of the steel and everything down there. But imagine if I had a cell phone or a beeper, I could have CIs telling me, oh yeah, that guy got a gun and this guy did that crime. Yeah. They had to call the desk. The desk had to 10-1 or 10-2 me. Mm-hmm. I had to find a call box or drive in. Yeah. It was a different game. I mean,
police
today,
work is totally different now.
You know what they called high tech? Let me give you an idea what we called high tech. We were going to the range at Rodman's Neck, doing our qualifications. And they told us we're going to upgrade it. We got some high tech stuff. What they did with high tech was put an abandoned car, a fire hydrant, and a parking meter. So you could hide behind this now.
This is cover.
This is cover and support, because you could put your hand on the trunk of the car or on the top of a parking meter. So this was what we called high tech.
Wow, man.
There was no such thing as speed loaders, laser sights.
None of that.
Nothing. It was nothing. We didn't have computers. You know what we had? We had a thing called the FATN machine. It was a big thing like this. And it would print out the paper with the holes on both sides. Yeah. And you had to take down license plates. It was like hundreds of thousands of stolen plates. And at roll call, they pass this around, and in your memo book on the back page, not that you write on the back of the page, you were responsible for writing down 10 plate numbers.
Jesus. Yeah.
You know what the odds were? I'm better off you can win the lottery again.
Yeah, absolutely. I
That's
mean, you got to think about it now. It's like most kids, if you tell them the Wi-Fi's out, they'll lose their mind.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this guy had a whole career. Majority of his career, there was no high-tech devices to assist.
I had none. We had none.
Yeah.
I got out, and then they invented beepers. Beepers and cell phones was after.
Beepers. We didn't even live.
Yeah, you too
I didn't
young
even
for
live
that,
with-
bro.
My
Well,
dad
beepers
had
were
it.
very big before
Right,
cell
right.
phones came.
Jay, how we looking?
I got about like 5 minutes.
Before
I gotta
we-
head to work after this.
Before we run into the questions, we're gonna ask you some questions to get the listeners
Sure.
to know yourself. When you're talking about the license plates, it just brought me up to the Son of Sam.
David Berkowitz.
Was that how
I think with today's technology, they would have caught him
They would have
faster.
caught him. Yeah, absolutely.
for you? Was there a person where you were like, I really want to be on this case, or
Oh, everybody,
like why weren't you on that case? And tell us really how the city was. Was it
the city was horrified. Girls were dyeing their hair a different color because he was sort of hitting a certain color type, right? And it impacted because, in those years, no one had their own apartments and stuff, or it was different. And everyone went to these places where you make out, and that's where he was hitting, when couples were making out in the car and stuff.
Right.
And with the technology of today, they would have caught him a lot sooner because they would have been able to catch license plates in the vicinity of the shootings. But everybody worked on the Son of Sam case. There was a task force and there were detectives assigned, but everybody had tips from their informants and everybody wanted to catch him. I mean, that was like catching
was
a
it.
Black Panther that killed cops or BLA. That would have made your career. Yeah, everybody wanted to catch him. He monopolized the newspapers for like a year or so.
it was a parking ticket?
Dude, I grew up.
Yeah, it was a parking ticket the guy wrote in Brooklyn, and they sort of connected it, and that's how they led it to Yonkers. It led
Yeah,
to West
42
Coast.
Pine Street. So he lived. So I grew up on North Broadway, right down the street from me. 42
He
Pine
was
Street.
right over the line
Yeah.
from Bronx to Yonkers.
And that's where he lived. 42 Pine Street, David Berkowitz.
And he worked in the
Parking
Bronx. He worked in the Grand Concourse,
Holy
He
shit!
was
I never knew that.
He worked in the post office, the big one, near like 149th Street.
My grandma grew up on Elton Avenue. She said that David Berkowitz's father owned like a candy shop, and she used to remember seeing him in there when they were.
I know
very
he was
young.
adopted. He was
Something like that,
living
yeah.
with adopted parents.
He got caught over a parking ticket. If he never got caught, who knows how long?
Yeah,
he
how
would
long
get going for
that
parking
killing
ticket.
streak
Well, he
would've
went
went
pretty
on.
long. It was a terrible
was-
thing.
yeah.
They had New York in fear. I covered a little of it in my show. We were touched on it. There was like some historians talk about it because it was 1977, and he had the city terrorized.
Was that
Actually-
the same? 77, was that the same as the
Blackout.
Yeah.
Yep, we cover that too.
Yeah.
And my book, Street Warrior, and the show, Street Justice Bronx, both available on Amazon.com.
Son of Sam.
But we touch on those subjects, the blackout. We touch on the Son of Sam.
So reading up on the Son of Sam, and I don't want to say I'm into serial killers. That'll sound weird, but the mind of a serial killer is that he said the whole dog was speaking to him, so his plea could be, insanity.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
all made up, but he did it intentional.
Yeah,
That's why
absolutely.
it was just, blows
I
my
mean,
mind.
most serial killers have high
Right.
IQs.
And then that led to people following the Son of Sam and trying to be like him, and then that's when serial killing really, really started to pick up a lot more throughout. So
I had a friend, real fast story, who was a prison guard, corrections officer, and he died now. Rest in peace, Richie. He collected art from all serial killers.
Oh, your buddy did?
Yeah,
Did he meet Berkowitz?
he met everybody. He met everybody, and you know what he did? This is funny. I used to talk to this guy late at night. I'm a late owl. He was a night owl, and we were talking on the phone one night, right? And we get the operator interrupts the phone and says, this was on our home lines. We didn't have cell phones then. And they interrupt the line. I'm not 100% sure, but it was the prison. I'm not sure which killer. He was getting killed in the morning. He was being executed. He wanted to say goodbye to my friend Richie. And
Holy shit.
They said, you got a collect
a
call.
call coming in?
Yeah, the operator used to interrupt your call. You could do that with your friends too, if you thought you told an operator, say, I think there's a problem. Could you interrupt the call? Say it's an emergency. And we used to use the phones on the street, just getting back to police work. You could pick up any payphone and say, this is Detective Friedman, Shield so-and-so.
And it would patch the call right
You
through.
don't have to put money
shit.
into a phone.
Never knew that.
And so we got interrupted by this prisoner calling to say goodbye to Richie. He was being executed in the morning. I might have been Wayne Gacy, one of these guys. Well, I'm not sure which one. I forgot over the years. This was many, many, many years ago. But
Bro.
they interrupted and the guy wanted to say goodbye. He collected art.
Straight up history lesson today, dude.
You know,
That's great.
Because today they wouldn't let that'd probably be they wouldn't
That's
let you
taboo,
do it.
bro. They
Some
wouldn't
kind
do
of
that,
corruption or something.
Right.
If you're collecting something
Taking
from the
something,
prisoner,
right, and then
because it would be worth money.
You sell, yeah, exactly.
He had a collection that filled his room of all paintings. He'd be the guard and he'd say, "Hey, listen." He'd get friendly with them and say, "Hey, could you draw something for me?" And he'd collect them.
Wow.
Some of them could actually draw, believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
I don't doubt
I
it.
guess they got nothing
right.
else to do.
They
They
got
had
nothing
to
else to
work
do,
out,
so you're in
work
line.
out, sleep, or draw.
Right.
You know? But it was some interesting stories that I came across over my career.
Well, Ralph, we really want to thank you for coming on the show. Before
My pleasure and my honor.
before we wrap up, a few quick questions for you.
Sure.
All right, you ready?
I'm always ready.
All right, one meal to eat for the rest of your life, every single day, the same meal, healthy or unhealthy. What are you going with?
Healthy.
What meal?
Probably steak and shrimp.
Steak and shrimp.
wow.
All right, a little surf and turf.
What kind of carbohydrate would you choose with that?
Mashed potato.
All right.
Or rice. I like rice too.
All right.
I like that. Was
I'll
that
take it.
was that a go-to meal on patrol? Did you eat a lot of the same things?
A lot of pizza
or no?
on patrol.
Oh wow. Okay.
I figured that was the best fast food.
Yeah.
I wasn't into
Right.
like a McDonald's or Wendy's thing. I mean, pizza, it was sort of good for you.
And
A
Bronx
lot of
pizza's the best.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
That's all I'm going to say.
I definitely agree with that. If you have two workout movements, any type of workout movements to do for the rest of your life every day, and it's the same recovery process for your body, which two are you doing?
Probably curls and bench, or pull downs. Pull downs and
Lat pull downs?
lat pull downs and bench.
I mean, he looks like he's still in pretty good shape too, bro. So
72.
yeah, man.
So got
It's
it, baby.
solid,
Never left.
bro. I'll take
Mike
it.
saw my gym. I built a pretty nice gym.
Rock and roll Ralph, baby. That's
Can't
it.
lift like I used to. I mean, when you get old, one thing is you can't. I tried every which way. You can't maintain any mass. You just can't.
Your body's slowed down. Your testosterone.
I mean,
everything
I've
drops
held it a
down,
long
unless
time.
You're taking tests.
But I'm 72 now. I never took any drugs. Never. Actually, I wasn't scared of shootouts and hitting apartments. I was scared of using steroids. I don't know
listen,
why.
man.
I did everything with meat and potato guy. I grew up on steak.
I mean, he still looks decent sized,
yeah,
bro.
he
He ain't a
does.
small dude. So, I
Exactly.
mean, I'll take
But,
it. I mean, I can only imagine in his prime, he probably was a
Right.
monster.
I saw
was good.
pictures.
I was-
yeah.
Did you have a bodybuilder that you looked up to, like when it started becoming big, like Frank Columbo, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Lou
Yeah,
Ferrigno,
all
those
of
guys?
those
You
were
liked
the guys.
Who was your favorite if you had to pick one?
Probably, I like Lou Ferrigno.
Louis.
I didn't like Schwarzenegger. Was I don't know, like a conceited type of guy.
Yeah.
He used, if you saw that movie, he used to taunt Ferrigno and
Yeah,
stuff. I didn't
yeah.
like
Oh,
that.
on Netflix you're talking about? Where they
Columbo
tried-
was good.
Yeah.
Hanley, remember Hanley? Hanley, he won Olympia like 6 times.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
yeah. That's, I mean,
Probably if
that's
I see
old
him,
school, old
yeah.
school.
Yeah, real old school.
Yeah,
guy.
The Hulk. So you're the Hulkster.
The Hulk was not the wrestler, but the Hulk
No,
was
the-
also
Lou
Lou
Ferrigno.
Ferrigno, yeah.
And you know his just to make it fast, I don't know if you know, but his father was lieutenant on our job.
Really?
Yeah,
Never knew that. See?
yeah. And you know he had a speech
Yeah,
impediment.
speech
Yeah, yeah,
impediment,
yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I did not know.
Oh
Lou
yeah, his
Ferrigno's
father.
dad was
I
on
met
the
his
job.
father. I met him at a car show. I think in the Coliseum when it was on 59th Street. They used to have a car and motorcycle show every year. Wow. And I met Lou was signing autographs there, and I went up and met the father because I knew he was a lieutenant. And I introduced myself as on the job, and I
That's
met.
crazy. Didn't know
Was he as
that.
big as Lou or no?
No,
No, yeah.
no one was big as Lou.
Yeah.
Lou
Lou's
was
a
big.
monster.
One person to hang out with, dead or alive, who would you want to hang out with?
Oh wow, that's a hard one. One person, dead or alive.
Someone you met, someone you never met. It could be anyone.
I don't know. I'd like to meet Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris, a good one. Chuck Norris,
Yeah.
I'll take that.
You know?
I'd
like to meet him. He's in great shape too, and he's old.
well, you're the Chuck Norris in our eyes of NYPD, you know.
Exactly.
Legends never die. So that's our first one.
Yeah, first one. That's the first time I heard Chuck Norris.
We walk out of the room, right? We lift up the tarp. We're like, Ralph, here's a time machine. You can go anywhere in the past or the future, anywhere.
Early 70s.
Where are you going? You going back to the 70s?
Oh,
He said
man.
it with no
Like,
hesitation.
You could go
too.
back to the 1800s,
My
the 1900s.
5 years. My 5 years in the 4-1
You're,
anti-crime.
and you're gonna go as Ralph now, just so you know, like the same person.
Oh man, I just go back and buy Amazon stock.
Create Amazon before, yeah. Cradle Jeff Bezos.
No, I'd like to be my years in the 4-1. Those guys
That was-
are fucking great. The time I had, I was like a king.
You're in contact with any of those guys?
Oh
Or-
yeah, a lot of them. Some of them were on my show. I talked to a lot of them. We're still
dope,
friends.
bro.
The guys are tight. There's
I
a
always
4-1
hear
club
the,
page.
The early years are like the bet. Those are the
Yeah,
years.
that's my most fun was my first 5 years. I say that all the time.
Yeah, you see?
I mean, I wasn't rock and roll like this man, but
the
I
Rock and roll
4-1,
Ralph, baby.
it was a great time to be a cop.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a great time to be a cop because you were feared and respected, and you were doing something good. You felt good. I was on the top of my game as far as police work and working out. You know, I went into the academy. You know, I was like 202 pounds was my top, and it was all muscle, and I felt great. I did great, and they thought I was a little wise guy when you had to do the chin-ups. You know, I banged out 15, and I was still hanging on the thing. Right? And the guy goes, "I don't like the way you do them. You got to do them over. You got to do 5." So I bang out another 15 while I was still hanging there. And the guy, "Okay, you pass." You know, you didn't like it, man. And then another guy came in and did it, right? And he did real good like me. And there was another guy in here who did it just like you. And winds up, it was my workout partner, my friend before we became cops.
That's funny.
Wow.
Mike Roth. He became a sergeant. He was,
dope, man.
And he was my workout partner.
Love it.
We hung out before we were cops. You know?
I love it, man.
Joe, you got any questions?
But those are the years. Yeah, I'd say 70 to 75. And to top it off was 75 making detective.
Oh, man. That's great. 75, man, was a good
But
year.
My
dad talks about
when you showed your shield,
yet.
when you showed your shield, you were like a god, you know.
Yeah.
You know, police shield.
Those are the glory days, man. When,
detective shield.
it'll be some time before it gets back to that, man.
But it will come back.
It will come
has
back,
to,
like you said.
Because it can't
Ebbs and
go on
flows
like
every
this.
20
Otherwise,
years
it's going to
there's a
be a
change.
This
jungle.
next decade's going to be really tough for law enforcement.
I think it's going to get a little worse, but it has to.
It has to get better at some
The
point.
pendulum swings
Yeah,
both ways,
right.
and they're not going to go for this law and order forever. Just like they did when before Giuliani took over.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't good for cops' contracts, but he was good for the citizens and the cops.
Yeah,
you were back to being a cop. Yeah, there's going to have to be politicians, and the agendas will have to change.
Yeah.
It's going to have to make New York will just go under because New York relies on tourism, and no one's coming in.
No one's coming in. Everybody's leaving.
You know, in '75 it got that bad. We had these things. I still have one at home. The original, they had pamphlets. It said "Fear City."
Fear City.
Yeah. They gave them out. It was a big skeleton on the head on the front of the thing, and you open it up. It said on the front said "Fear City," and you open it up. It says, "Do not go out at night alone."
Can you give me a picture of that, Mikey? Mikey, give me a picture of that, bro. I need that.
It's like the movie The Warriors.
Yeah, well, that was sort of that wasn't the real thing.
Yeah. Well,
Street Justice or Bronx Warriors.
you had that in the show Fear City.
I think they mentioned.
Oh, you know what? Maybe I see it in the
Maybe
building.
on my Facebook
in the
or
building
somewhere.
too. I think we have that in the building somewhere.
Maybe
Like,
it was a little
picture.
pamphlet that he gave out.
But there's like a picture
in the streets and in
There's a
airports.
picture of it. I don't
I
know
gotta
where
see that.
They probably showed the front with the skeleton head and it said
Right.
Fear City.
I'm gonna Google that then.
Yeah.
I gotta see that.
It was the mid '70s.
It's getting back to it. I think.
It'll probably come right up.
Yeah.
Look at Fear City pamphlets from the '70s.
Got you. All right.
It was a different time.
It sure was.
Sure was.
It sure
man.
was.
Well, Ralph, thanks again so
But
much.
you know what? In 20 years, you guys will be telling the same.
Yeah, I don't think I have such great stories like this,
No,
man.
no.
Well, when
not
the
even
department
close.
when it changes,
Yeah.
and they let guys be cops again,
Yeah, dude. I hope
which
that
I
day
sure hope
comes.
is soon
I hope so.
because it's getting bad.
Yeah, there
out
it is. Welcome to Fear City.
Oh,
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah.
My bodyguard Mike Mancuso found it.
Mikey.
Thanks, Mikey.
See,
Listen,
they gave those out. Could you imagine
that's
walking around the
crazy.
city?
It's getting
giving
right
those
back
out?
to it, man. It's getting right back to it.
Thanks, Mike.
Today was a humbling experience, man, to sit down with you, Ralph.
I mean, I appreciate you having me on.
Man,
I enjoy this. Once I get started,
oh yeah, dude, I love
Oh
it,
yeah,
man.
we could definitely have kept going for sure.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we'll do it again.
Yeah, round
Maybe
two
we'll do it
down
again. So for all you guys who are, subscribers and listeners to us, you know where to find us. Inside the Labyrinth Podcast. You can find us on all major streaming platforms, Google Play, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and you can find me on Instagram at @TheRealJumpmanJ. Frankie, where can they find you?
They can find me at reps_for_responders, repsforresponders.org. Shoot me an email, repsforresponders@gmail.com. We're always here for you guys. Ralph, where could they find, what's your website, your
my
book,
website is BronxStreetWarrior.com.
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 All right, man. So
And I have a lot of stuff. If you Google my name or Street Warrior or Street Justice, the Bronx, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube.
Aces.
Right. This will be on YouTube too. And before we wrap up, there's one quote that's going to stick with me for a while, and it resonates with the Reps for Responders mission. Is Ralph was explaining and how humble he was that he can never do this alone, and that he was all together.
I mean, I could
So
fight.
that's
I
what
couldn't
it's all
fight the whole
about, is
Bronx
that
myself.
I hear
You
that.
can't do this alone. So please, if you ever need anything, reach out. We're always here. Thanks for listening.
All right, guys. See you next week.